The first combat encounter in Reclaimed Earth is one of my favourites, with the Hell Knights, Armoured Baron, and of course, the Cursed Prowler. This is the first time we get to see the Cursed Prowler, and I find him to be one of the best new enemies in the Ancient Gods Part 2. I like the open flat area that you get to traverse in this fight, and it helps players get a feel of how the Cursed Prowler works. This fight is not dangerous at all, but it's the perfect way to get players familiar with the Cursed Prowler's properties. The Hell Knights and Armoured Baron reinforcements are a nice touch, as they pressure you into moving around the space, and that might result into you getting jumped and cursed by the Cursed Prowler. The first main arena is up next, and I think this is a solid combat encounter all the way through. It's not the most difficult arena, but that makes sense considering that it's the first one of the level, and it has great monster placement regardless. Wave 1 consists of Cyber Mancubi, Cacodemons, and Hell Knights, and these three work so well together. We have the tank enemy with the Cyber Mancubus, the ground pressure unit with the Hell Knight, and the airborne pressure unit with the Cacodemon. Wave 2 steps things up with a similar demon placement scheme, as a Cursed Prowler and a group of Pain Elementals and Whiplashes spawn in. The airborne pressure unit is back, with the Pain Elemental this time, which is an appropriate upgrade from the Cacodemon, and we obviously have the ground pressure demon in the form of the Whiplashes now. I like the idea of throwing the Cursed Prowler into the mix again as well, and since the player is up against tougher demon types in this arena, he could pose much more of a threat. This is a good arena, and so far Reclaimed Earth is 2 for 2 with its combat encounters. In this fight, I also love the Tyrants, Barons, and everything else in the third and final wave. The second little combat encounter features the new Riot Soldier and the Bloodmaker, and it doesn't do anything for me. I think the main reason why this combat encounter is very underwhelming is because it comes right after a mini cutscene, and the battle is over in a matter of seconds. Maybe that's the idea, but it comes across to me as underwhelming, and I feel like if maybe the Riot Soldier was aided by the Marauder or something instead of a Bloodmaker, it would have worked more. That being said, this is just a little combat puzzle at the end of the day, and it doesn't ruin the level or anything. The second arena of Reclaimed Earth features an escalation gore nest, and the first of these encounters is excellent. Stone Imps, Dread Knights, Cacodemons, and Mancubi barrage the player at the start of a fight, and having most of the demons be pressure units at the start is a good idea. It keeps the player on their toes, and it's an action-packed opening wave. Wave 2 is the low point of this first escalation encounter with a group of Revenants and the Cursed Prowler. Think of this as the intermission before the main event, which is with the Marauder, Cyber Mancubus, and Riot Soldier. The Riot Soldiers supporting the Marauder is a good use for them, and I think this encounter closes the fight well. When you crack open the Gore Nest for the second time, you get swarmed by Pinkies, Arachnotrons, and Pain Elementals. This is an interesting combination of monsters, and in general, the second escalation encounter actually escalates the challenge and makes things more difficult, which is nice, but I think I do prefer the first fights. The Cyber Mancubi and Hell Knights come in, along with Revenants, a Cursed Prowler, and an Archvile. It's chaotic for sure, but I feel like the first escalation encounter had a better pace to it. With that in mind, the possessed Hell Knight, Cacodemon, and Spectre ambush is so good, and the enemy placement here is perfect. After replaying the Ancient Gods Part 2 more and more, I will definitely admit that I did overlook some of these combat encounters, and I think most of the ones in Reclaimed Earth are quality. The World Spear relies a little too much on gimmicky combat encounters for my tastes, and the monster combinations weren't that creative, but Reclaimed Earth steps things up. The second escalation fight concludes with a Doom Hunter, Marauder, and Riot Soldiers assisting. It's a bit too similar to how the first escalation fight ended, but whatever, it doesn't really matter much. After the escalation encounters, you head into a room with a group of gargoyles, zombies, prowlers, and mancubi, And yeah, this is a mindless combat zone. There's sentinel hammer charges laying all about the place, and this combat puzzle, if you can even call it that, is just supposed to make the player feel powerful. It's a fine little encounter, but there's not much to say apart from that. I kinda forget that this section exists, so when I play through the level again and walk into the room, I'm pleasantly surprised to see all of these hammer charges and fodder to use them on. The fourth main combat puzzle of the level is much more memorable and features a mancubus, a bunch of stone imps, and a possessed pinky. The space that you have available to move in is tight, and you will be ambushed by the possessed pinky and stone imps in particular. This is such a great little section, and it's fun to see a possessed pinky rush towards you as you're also getting swarmed by the stone imps and getting picked apart by the mancubus. An excellent example of how to design a small combat puzzle in Doom Eternal. It's not the most challenging thing in the world, but I feel like that shouldn't matter at all, and good monster placement and level design will always prevail above that. Bloodmakers, whiplashes, stone imps, and dread knights work well together in the next arena fights. The space has some verticality to it, and there's a good selection of demons, and that continues with the Cyber Mancubi, Armored Baron, and Riot Soldier wave that comes after. Arena 3 is solid, but I think it does get outshined a bit by some of the other combat zones. Speaking of better combat encounters, the section with the Screecher, Hell Knights, and Spectre Whiplashes is pretty much perfect. Having the Screecher in such a tight corridor along with two pressure units like this is very clever, and it's the ideal Screecher combat encounter. The final arena of Reclaimed Earth is pretty damn good, and the look of it reminds me of UAC Atlantica, but overall I think I prefer the escalation encounters and some of the other combat puzzles over it. At least the Hell Knight and Doom Hunter opening is solid, and then I like how they ramp up the difficulty in Wave 2 with the Cursed Prowler, Baron, Carcass, and Doom Hunter combination. The arena fight concludes with an Archvile, along with some Riot soldiers, and that was Reclaimed Earth. I love the platforming in this level, as I continue to believe that the Ancient Gods Part 2 has by far the best platforming segments. Most of the combat puzzles are better than the World Spear, and also most of DLC 1 in my opinion, and seeing the Cursed Prowler for the first time is awesome. There's a lot to like about Reclaimed Earth, and while it is a fairly standard Doom Eternal level in terms of the actual objectives, the combat encounters are still solid. Do I prefer Reclaimed Earth to the World Spear? I'm not entirely sure. I think it depends on the day. That's what's so great about not only Doom Eternal, but Classic Doom as well. The fact that there are so many level styles, and that not all of the maps are going to feature the same properties. Either way, Reclaimed Earth holds up, and it's enjoyable trudging along through this abandoned city. I do like how the World Spear has more diverse environments to explore, like the forest area in the beginning and the Crystal Cave at the end, but Reclaimed Earth is still pretty good. Thank you for watching.